Do you remember the first time you looked at your own hand and really saw something there? I'm not talking about scars, calluses, or marks of time. I'm talking about lines, those fine trails that intertwine silently across the palm, as if they were fragments of a forgotten language. Almost everyone ignores them. Almost everyone. But there are those who say that between these lines, something different sometimes emerges. A letter that seems to belong to nothing, and, at the same time, says everything. The letter M, yes, an M, as if someone had secretly carved that mark into your skin even before you were born. A coincidence? Maybe. Or maybe not. In a lost interview from the 70s, a hand morphology scholar mentioned that about 1 in 9 people has this symbol clearly, but no one knows exactly how it appears, or why. Some say it is the junction of natural lines, others swear it is a spiritual trait, but the question that really matters is another one. Why does it only appear in some hands, and not in others? The answer may seem simple: chance, genetics. But over the centuries, in cultures as different as they are distant, this M has been seen as something more: a silent signature, an omen, a warning. They say that those who carry it not only live differently, they are called to live differently. Today, you will understand why. Before trying to decipher what this symbol means about your destiny, we need to start with the most basic question of all. Have you ever looked for that M on your hand? Or has it always been there, waiting for you? The lines that don't? Maybe you have already found the M in your hand. Or maybe you are looking at it now, not exactly knowing what to look for. He is not always obvious. Sometimes it is clear, almost as if it had been drawn with a pen. Other times, it hides under gentle curves, as if afraid of being noticed. But in both cases, there is something that intrigues. Why would these lines, so seemingly random, create a recognizable symbol? The formation of this letter, according to oral traditions of palm reading that date back to vanished civilizations, depends on the intersection of 4 main lines. They have been called by different names over the centuries, but today they are known as lifeline, headline, heart line, and the fate line, or destiny line, although some deny that the latter even exists. It is in the subtle encounter between them that this M sometimes arises. Curiously, this mark appears more frequently on people who have never heard of it. In 1978, an old American spiritualist newspaper published an article suggesting that individuals with an M on their hand tend to exhibit charisma from an early age. The publication disappeared years later, but the myth grew silently. But what does this symbol really say? Some believe it is a mark of protection. Others say it is a reminder that those who carry it have a mission. Although no one can explain exactly what it is, some see it as a key, not a guarantee of success, but an invitation to seek it. But be careful, it's not enough to have the signal. What matters is what you decide to do with it, and perhaps it is precisely this ambiguity that makes it so powerful. The M does not provide answers. He provokes, and leaves the rest in your hands, literally. The side that chooses you. If the M really carries a hidden meaning, then perhaps the place where it appears is as important as the symbol itself. Many people wonder, in which hand should it appear to make sense? The truth is that not all answers agree with each other, and perhaps therein lies the key to understanding its complexity. Some ancient palmistry practitioners claimed that the dominant hand revealed the outer journey, while the other exposed the inner world. But that raises an intriguing question. What happens when the M appears on both? Some say that when it appears only on the right hand, it indicates talents geared towards the practical world, leadership, influence, direct impact on the environment. Interestingly, oral accounts from Northern Europe in the 19th century mention that those with the M on their right hand were destined to build something lasting. However, when it is seen on the left hand, some interpret it as a sign of heightened intuition, heightened sensitivity, and a type of wisdom that does not come from study, but from silent experience. In unverified texts attributed to Egyptian monks, it is mentioned that those marked by the left hand are counselors of the invisible, But there is an important detail that no one seems to be able to explain. Why, in some individuals, does the M appear clearly on one hand, but is completely absent on the other? Could it be an imbalance, a choice, or just noise? There is no consensus, and maybe that's intentional. The symbol does not follow rules. It appears where it needs to appear, and its location, far from being a coincidence, can be a reminder of where you are putting your energy, or where you should be putting it. So, before asking what the M represents, it might be better to ask, why did he choose this hand and not the other? When the lines align, not all M's are the same. While some appear with almost geometric clarity, others barely reveal themselves at first glance. But according to ancient palmistry practitioners, many of whom never left formal writings, the difference lies in the way the lines meet, and not just in the final shape. The so-called lifeline encircles the base of the thumb. The line of the mind, on the other hand, crosses the center of the palm horizontally. The heart line runs just below the fingers, and the fate line, when present, usually rises from the center towards the middle fingers. When these four intertwine fluidly, it is said that there is a type of rare harmony. Some Asian traditions mention that the crossing of these lines creates a kind of energy circuit. There is no scientific confirmation of this, nor is it known exactly where these ideas originated. But the concept is fascinating, a point where body and spiritual path intertwine. It's curious how many people with this alignment report feeling like they are in the right place, at the right time, with unusual frequency. An informal survey conducted by a spiritual magazine in the 90s indicated that over 60% of respondents with the M symbol described a constant sense of purpose, although no official study has replicated this data since then. But the balance of the lines does not guarantee balance in life. The same pattern that suggests potential can also hide conflicts. People with this pattern often oscillate between absolute clarity and profound doubt. They are seen as visionaries by some, but called impulsive by others. So, what are the lines saying? Could this M be a confirmation of inner strength, or just a reminder that there are more questions than answers? The symbol is there. The lines formed it. What will you do with this? Who are those who carry the M? If the symbol M were just a curious shape drawn on the palm of the hand, perhaps it wouldn't generate so much fascination. But there is something in common among those who have it, something difficult to measure, but easy to feel. They are people who often seem to be silent, but observe everything. They don't usually seek the spotlight, but when they speak, their words carry an unexpected weight. Some describe these individuals as naturally diplomatic, skilled at avoiding conflicts without appearing submissive. Others say there is an artificial calmness in their presence, as if they are always holding something back that they don't say. Interestingly, ancient accounts from practitioners of spiritual reading claim that those with the M have a stable temperament, rarely react with anger, and prefer introspection to confrontation. But that doesn't mean they don't feel, they just don't reveal it easily. There is also a recurring trait: the tendency to procrastinate. It seems contradictory. How can someone with leadership traits, sensitivity, and focus struggle against their own inertia? But perhaps this is one of the most enigmatic characteristics of M. He carries both potential and blockages. He does not guarantee action, he only indicates that it is possible. And there's one more question that is rarely discussed. Do all those who have this symbol actually share these qualities? Or is there a bias, a tendency to interpret common characteristics as special, just because someone said there was something mystical about it? There is no clear answer, and perhaps that's why it continues to fascinate, because the symbol does not define who you are. It just suggests that maybe you haven't discovered everything you can be yet. The weight of an unused signal. There is a comfortable illusion that accompanies certain symbols, that their mere appearance guarantees something. As if having the M engraved on your hand were some kind of shortcut, a golden ticket, an automatic blessing. But what if it isn't? And what if, instead of a prize, that symbol is a charge? Over the past few decades, Personality observers, many without formal academic training, have begun to notice a troubling pattern. People with the visible M did indeed show signs of sharp perception, empathy, and extraordinary creativity, but also, with disturbing frequency, they carried a silent trait, the tendency to start a lot and finish little. It's as if there were a conflict between what is written on the hand and what is realized in the world. Some would call this laziness. Others would call it fear, but perhaps the most accurate name is internal resistance, that invisible force that prevents us from taking the next step, even when everything points in the right direction. And here lies the paradox. Those who carry the M often have a long-term vision, but stumble in the short term, sees the possible paths, but freezes at the first forks. There is no universal reason for this. It could be insecurity. It could be excessive expectations. It could be the weight of feeling that you should be more. But the result is always the same. Doors that open and are not crossed. There is an enigmatic passage from an 18th century Persian manuscript that says, "The hand reveals the path, but the foot decides whether to follow it." Maybe that's the true message behind the M. He is not a guarantee. It's not a promise. He is just a reminder, silent but constant, that there is something there, something possible, something that hasn't been done yet, and what you will do with it, no one else can decide. When potential awakens, not everyone wakes up, but those who awaken are hard to ignore. There is something peculiar about people who have the M and finally choose to act, as if an internal trigger, invisible, silent, were activated all of a sudden, without warning, without fuss. And when that happens, it's as if time starts working in their favor. Some report that, after years of stagnation, something changes. An idea that seemed trivial transforms into a mission. A simple habit becomes discipline. The same person who previously hesitated in front of small tasks begins to lose sleep pursuing a project, not out of obligation, but by impulse, by direction. And it is at this point that the symbol comes to life. The M ceases to be just a curious mark on the palm of the hand to become a reflection of behavior, a constant reminder that destiny, when aligned with action, can produce results that once seemed unattainable. There are reports, rarely documented, almost always passed down orally, of people who, upon breaking free from procrastination, experienced significant leaps in their journeys. Not necessarily fame or wealth, but clarity, focus, sustained will. This does not mean that the obstacles disappear. Quite the opposite. The journey tends to intensify. But what changes is the relationship with effort. What was once avoided is now sought after. Discomfort becomes part of the process, no longer a reason to stop. It's curious how few people notice this turning point. It doesn't come with a warning, not even with external signs. It just happens, and almost always, too late to turn back. Because once potential awakens, it demands continuity, it demands constancy, and for those who have the M in their hand, there's no way to pretend it's not there. The map that doesn't walk alone. Every brand has an origin. Some come from time, others from experience, but there are those that seem to have come from another place, a space we cannot name, but that, somehow, insists on manifesting itself upon us. The M in the palm of your hand can be exactly that, an echo of something you haven't understood yet, but that already belongs to you. Over the centuries, many theories have attempted to explain the meaning of these lines. Schools, ancient writings, and symbolic systems were created, but no theory has completely withstood the test of time. No answer has been definitive, and perhaps it never will be, because what this symbol really means depends on who carries it. Some see in it a destiny, others a warning. Some see it as a mirror, something that reveals what you always knew but never wanted to face, and there are still those who prefer to ignore it completely. But ignoring doesn't erase, and denying doesn't undo. The M is not a magic seal, nor a winning ticket. It guarantees nothing. He just points, directs, whispers, and then he falls silent. The rest depends on what you are willing to do, because, in the end, The symbol is just the beginning. The story it will tell, or not, will be written with your own gestures, your decisions, your failures, your attempts. No line of the hand walks alone. No promise is fulfilled without movement. And now that you know this, that you've seen this trait with different eyes, there is one last question to be asked. Maybe the most important of all. Are you up to the task of what you carry? Or are you still waiting for permission to start?